Before we dive in, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. It helps us bring you more rare and fascinating treasures from our shared history, stories that connect the past to your present, and possibly, to your future wealth. So don't miss out. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you checked your old coin jar? You know, the one sitting at the back of your drawer or locked away in an old biscuit tin in the garage. We all have one. For some of us, it's been gathering dust for decades. And buried in that forgotten pile, there just might be something that could change your life. What if I told you that one small, bronze-colored coin from 1971, something you probably handled without a second thought, could now be worth more than a luxury house in Camps Bay? What if that little 20-cent piece you bought a loaf of bread with, back in the day, is now being hunted down by collectors across the world? Let's rewind time for a moment. The year is 1971. South Africa was a different place then. The scent of coal fires in winter, the Springboks battling it out on the rugby field, and Sundays spent polishing your car while the radio played classics. Life was simpler, tougher in some ways, but full of character. It was also the year the special 20-cent coin was minted. To most people at the time, it was just a coin. Round. Ordinary. Tossed in with the rest of your change. Used to buy milk, a newspaper, or maybe a Coke on a hot day. Nobody thought twice about it. And that's exactly why it's so rare today. The 1971 20-cent coin from South Africa carries more than just its face value. It carries a story, a moment in our nation's economic history, locked in metal. Struck under the South African Reserve Bank, this coin features the graceful Strelitzia flower, known by many as the bird of paradise. Elegant, proud, and symbolic of South Africa's diverse beauty. Flip it over, and you'll find the bold profile of Jan van Riebeeck, the founder of the first European settlement at the Cape of Good Hope. But here's where things get interesting. 1971 wasn't a particularly rare year for coins, on the surface. But in the world of numismatics, it's not always about how many were made. It's about how many survived. And how many were made just a little bit differently. A misprint. An error. A particular dye that left a slightly raised edge or a shimmer that looks almost golden in the right light. Small differences, invisible to the naked eye, that send collectors into bidding wars. You see, the 1971 20-cent coin has a few secrets. Some versions of it were struck using a unique dye, resulting in an ever so slight variation in the font and spacing of the date. A rare few have an unusual luster caused by a specific blend of nickel and copper that was never used again after that year. Most of these variations were unnoticed back then, because who was checking? People had families to feed, jobs to work, lives to live, but today, collectors are hunting them down. And they're willing to pay a fortune. You might be wondering, why all this fuss over a 20-cent coin? It's simple. Scarcity, story, and sentiment. Scarcity, because few of these coins exist in pristine condition. Most have been worn down, scratched, lost in the folds of time. Story, because every coin has its place in the grander tale of a nation. And sentiment, because for people born in the 1950s and 60s, this coin is more than currency. It's memory. It's identity. It's the sound of a till opening in an old corner cafe, the clink of change in your father's palm, the weight of a world that was once so familiar. And there's something else. A feeling. A whisper from the past, reminding you of who you were, and who you are now. This coin carries that whisper. And for the right collector, that whisper is worth millions. You see, just a few months ago, a 1971 20-cent coin in near-perfect condition, with a rare minting error, was privately sold, not auctioned, but sold, behind closed doors to an international collector for a staggering amount. This wasn't a rumor. This wasn't a guess. This was a transaction verified by specialists, witnessed by industry veterans, and it left the numismatic world stunned. Why? Because that small, forgotten coin sold for $4 million. Yes. You heard that right. $4 million. That's not just change in your pocket. That's generational wealth. That's financial freedom from something you might already own and not even know. Now, I'm not saying every 1971 coin is worth that much. But I am saying you owe it to yourself to check. Look through your old tins. Ask your parents. Your grandparents. You'd be surprised what's been kept in a safe, a drawer, or a toolbox just in case. Coins are not just metal. They're pieces of history, carriers of time. And sometimes, very rarely, they are keys. Keys to a fortune. Keys to a story waiting to be rediscovered. So don't wait. Dig into those drawers. Pull out that old coin album. Take a closer look at what's been quietly sitting there, forgotten. Because you might be holding on to a tiny piece of South African history that the world is finally ready to pay for.